Hey, what up, guys? So coming to you right now with the weekend preview for Saturday, November 23rd. We got fights taking place, a lot of fights taking place on the 23rd. A lot of stuff going on, so it should be pretty good. So make sure you're checking it out because you really don't want to miss the action that is coming up this weekend. Some big fights. There's 3 different cards going on that day. 2 of them are going to be on DAZN. The other one's on Fox pay-per-view. So we'll kick it off with the DAZN card that's coming from the United Kingdom. There really isn't. There's only the main event to talk about because I looked at the whole card. The whole card is garbage outside of the main event. It's a lot of just domestic fighters, English fighters that aren't that big of names fighting on the undercard. So we're just going to talk about the main event. It's the only one significant. It's going to see Callum Smith, the current 168-pound super middleweight WBA champion, is making the second defense of his title against John Ryder, his WBA interim champion. Ryder is a fellow guy from the United Kingdom like Callum Smith is. So should be an interesting fight right here. But John Ryder's coming off of, he hasn't really beaten anybody. He hasn't beaten anybody big. Callum Smith's the number 1 guy at 168 right now. He's undefeated. He won the World Boxing Super Series last year. He's been widely avoided. I think part of that's because he's a Matchroom guy, so there's not a lot of Matchroom guys at 168. He wanted to get Canelo in the ring, so he waited around to see if that was a possibility. It wasn't. He fought on the Andy Ruiz, Anthony Joshua undercard back in June. He took on Hassan Nadam, former 2-time middleweight champ, knocked him out in only 3 rounds. So he's trying to stay busy ahead of what he hopes to be either Canelo, Triple G, or possibly even a unification with Billy Joe Saunders, which a lot of people think is going to happen, myself included. He's taking out Ryder in this one. I think it's pretty much a stay busy fight, but it's a mandatory fight for him because Ryder's the interim champ. I think Callum Smith's going to dominate him. Use his jab, use his boxing ability, break him down. I see a knockout in the middle to later rounds right here, and Callum Smith walking away with his world title still intact. So that's that card, Saturday on DAZN. I don't know the exact time, but most of the fights that come from England are early afternoon for the main event, early to maybe between 2 and 3 in the afternoon at the latest. So check out, if you want to watch the whole card and check it out, it should be starting at 10, 11 in the morning, I'm assuming. And then you'll probably see the main event, like I said, between 2 and 3 o'clock that afternoon. I'll probably have to stream it because I'll be at a baseball tournament that day. Now, later on that day on DAZN, there's another card by Golden Boy is taking place. It's a whole card. I'm sure it's starting at 4 on DAZN, something like that, like it normally does. But really, just the co-feature and the main event are the 2 fights that are worth watching. First up in the co-feature, you got Xu Can, who is a Chinese fighter. He's a WBA champion, featherweight champion at 126 pounds. He's making a defense of his title against undefeated prospect on the rise, Manny Robles III. Can scored the upset win over Jesus Rojas earlier this year in January. Upset decision, kind of controversial decision. It was a close fight. And then he took on former 122-pound champion from Japan, Shun Kubo, and dominated him and stopped him in only 6 rounds. So he's been on fire this year in 2019. Manny Robles, I haven't really heard much about him. He's undefeated. He's got a solid amateur background. We're going to see what this one is like. I'm predicting Can because of who he's faced to win the fight by a decision, but Manny Robles could surprise us, and I wouldn't be surprised if he pulled out the win because he's got a good amateur background. So we'll see what happens here. That's the co-feature. The main event is going to see Andrew Cancio, the 130-pound super featherweight regular champion for the WBA, making the second defense of his title against Rene Alvarado. This is a rematch from 2015 when both guys were kind of just, I think Alvarado was probably the favorite back then because he was more of the name. And Cancio came in and knocked him out in the 8th round of that fight. That was before Cancio even became a name at all. Cancio this year has been hot. He knocked out Alberto Machado twice, handed him his first loss back in February with an upset 4th round knockout after he went down in the 1st round. Then he came back against Cancio in a rematch, against Machado in a rematch and he walked right through all his punches and stopped them in only 3 rounds this time. So he's hot. He's looking forward to bigger fights. He's taking on Alvarado, who's this is a mandatory challenge for him. I think he's a better fighter now than he was 4 years ago when he knocked out Alvarado. I think Alvarado's pretty much the same. He hasn't beaten any big names to earn the mandatory shot. So I got Cancio winning this fight by a knockout, middle to later rounds. I could see it going the distance, though, and being a decision. And I think Alvarado's a live underdog. I don't think he's a complete pushover. I think he is a live underdog. I think he could win this fight. So it should be a good one. That's the main event. It should be a good scrap. I think these guys are really going to go back and forth. It's going to be a good battle right here. Again, I got Cancio winning. But that's Saturday on DAZN. Again, probably going to start around 4 or 5, the whole card. The top 2 fights are the ones we're talking about. There's a decent fight on the undercard, but not really worth talking about. So just check it out if you guys want to watch the whole card. And if not, then just check out the co-feature and the main event. Now, the big card that night on Fox pay-per-view, huge card here. You got 4 fights on the card. They got a good bantamweight fight on the undercard. That's 118 pounds. I believe it's Luis Nery against Emmanuel Rodriguez. Again, guys, I don't really know anything under 122. I don't know a lot about it, but I've heard these 2 guys' names, so should be a decent scrap right here. That is either going to kick off the card or be the second fight. The other 3 fights are the ones worth breaking down and talking about. First up, you got undefeated Brandon Figueroa, who just got upgraded to WBA regular champion at super bantamweight. That's 122 pounds. He's taking on former WBC champion Julio Ceja. This should be a good fight. I mean, as long as it lasts. These are 2 guys that like to slug, like to bring it. Figueroa is undefeated. On the rise is Zomar Figueroa Jr.'s little brother. He's on the rise. He keeps coming. He fights a lot like his brother. He's just at a smaller size, so they throw more punches at the smaller weights. I think Figueroa is going to come in and beat Ceja, but Ceja's a game fighter. He was going toe-to-toe with Guillermo Rigondeaux back in June, and Rigondeaux knocked him out in the 8th round, but he was winning that fight. So he's trying to get back into the title mix. Ceja is not going to just back down. He's going to come to fight, but I think Figueroa is going to roll in this one. I could see him scoring a knockout early, but I think it's going to end more towards the middle rounds, possibly go into the later rounds, but I think it ends more towards the early to middle rounds, and Figueroa is going to successfully defend his title for the first time. Then the co-feature sees former 3-division world champion Leo Santa Cruz as he moves up to 130 pounds, super featherweight, and challenges for a championship in a 4th weight class as he goes for the vacant WBA super championship at super featherweight when he takes on little-known Miguel Flores. This is a fight that Santa Cruz was trying to get back in February. Flores injured himself in training. For some reason, they're upgrading Flores into a world title fight at 130 instead of 126. I think it's just pretty much Santa Cruz to get his feet wet. I'm not expecting a big fight here, but unless Santa Cruz can't handle the weight. But I think he's going to score a knockout in the later rounds, possibly a one-sided decision, and become a 4-division world champion. I don't think it could end up being a good fight. Maybe Flores will prove me wrong, but I just think it's a mismatch. Santa Cruz, I'm upgrading him to number 2 at 130 before he even fights because of what he's done. But I don't see this Flores guy as posing a threat. But Santa Cruz is an entertaining fighter to watch, so check it out. He should win a championship in a 4th weight class here. And then the main event, guys. You can't fucking beat this one. Undefeated WBC heavyweight champion Deontay Wilder. I think he's making his 11th world title defense since winning the title in 2015. Is taking on Luis Ortiz in a rematch from their fight last year in March. It's been a little over a year and a half now since they fought, when Wilder scored a 10th round knockout over Ortiz in a fucking classic fight, though. It was a great fight that night. I'll go shortly into it again. Wilder was cautious early. Ortiz was winning on points. Then Wilder caught him with a big right hand in the 6th round. Hurt him, put him down. And then the 7th round, it looked like he was gassed out. And Ortiz took over and almost stopped Wilder. Wilder looked like he was out on his feet. Then he took the 8th and 9th round to find his legs. Ortiz got tired, and Wilder knocked him out in the 10th round impressively. Now, Ortiz is coming in great condition. Wilder is more confident. This is going to be a big fight. Big fight. Wilder's has a fight with Tyson Fury locked up for early next year. If he wins this one, I think he knows that. I think he wants that. He wants that rematch. He wants those big notoriety fights, you know. But he's got to get through Ortiz. I give him props for signing on to face Ortiz again. I think it's going to be a good one. It could go either way, but I am picking Deontay Wilder to score a knockout earlier this time than he scored last time. I just think he's going to be more confident. And I'm not sure Ortiz can get out of the way. He's 40 years old. He's a good boxer, a lot of power. But I'm not sure he's going to be able to catch Wilder before Wilder catches him. And I think Wilder's going to be a little bit more aggressive. I see Wilder scoring a knockout here, early to middle rounds. But again, I really think it could go either way, and I think Ortiz has a good shot of pulling off the upset here. So it should be good, guys. Don't miss out this weekend. 2 DAZN cards, one from England, one from the United States, and then you got the big Fox pay-per-view card. You don't want to miss it. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. That's the weekend preview for Saturday, November 23rd. True Boxing. You've been hit with the truth.